Fire season seems to start earlier and earlier every year. But here in Placer County, we have excellent fire service, from our local fire departments to CAL FIRE. Hi everyone, I am Placer County Supervisor Bonnie Gore, and I am honored today to speak with Placer County Fire Chief Brian Estes. Brian is going to speak to us a little bit about what we can do to prevent wildfire in our community. Chief, can you tell us some of the work that the Placer County Fire Department does to proactively prevent wildfires?
Yeah, great question. I mean, the work that we do across the region in our integrated fire service between CAL FIRE and Placer County Fire gives us an amazing opportunity in all aspects of the region, from the work we've done up country in the American River Canyon, down into your district, where we have an active disc line program every year that protects tens of thousands of acres of land around the valley floor. So fire prevention, defensible space inspections, education to our homeowners and community members out there is really, really important to us.
Great, well let's talk a little bit about education. The Wildland Urban Interface, or WUI as it is called. Tell us a little bit about what that is and actually how that's important in West Placer and how it affects our residents.
Yeah, WUI, or Wildland Urban Interface, is something that the fire service lives with almost every time we respond to a wildland fire, because essentially what it means is that our fires are now burning in areas where the wildlands meet the urban interface. They meet the subdivisions, and they meet sometimes, as we've seen in past years, these urbanized areas, commercial areas and downtown areas. And so the kind of the older mantra of, well, I live in a suburban area or I live in a municipality, so I don't really have to worry about wildland fire, those days are gone. We all have to realize that the threat from wildland fire can impact us in a suburban area as easily as it can in a more rural area. So really being aware of that and being educated through local programs like Ready Placer or our state level programs like Ready Set Go are really important to all our homeowners.
Let's talk about that a little bit more. So what can our residents do to protect themselves, their communities from fire risk?
I think the probably the biggest thing I have, I've always used this kind of three-legged stool approach, and that's the suppression and the prevention that the agencies are doing are already taken care of. That third leg of the stool is that community responsibility or personal responsibility. And that's multifaceted, but it starts out with you becoming educated, you taking responsibility for the fact that you live in an area where wildland fire is a threat. And so understanding that personal responsibility and becoming educated, communicating with your family, your friends, being engaged and involved in your neighborhood, in your MACs, in your fire safe councils, in your FireWise communities is incredibly important. And then accessing the education and the tools you need to do your job. And again, through programs like Ready Placer or readyforwildfire.org at the state level, they'll give you all the tools you need to do to be prepared.
Great, and let's talk about being prepared, right? Because if there is a fire, if there's an emergency, we want to make sure that we're aware of that as residents. Yeah. So let's talk about Placer Alert, what that is, and why our residents should sign up for Placer Alert.
Placer Alert is an amazing program administered by my partners with the Placer County Sheriff's Office, and it's kind of the second part of our education program. There's the Ready Placer, which gives you all the tools to know what to do in the case of emergency and how to prepare. And then Placer Alert is the actual mass notification system. And like I said, it's administered by our Sheriff's Office, and once signed up for it, it allows them, as we're making combined decisions between the fire department and the Sheriff's Office about the need to evacuate, it gives them the ability with one fell swoop to mass notify a large amount of people and get those evacuations going early and often.
Right, so it's really important, folks, to sign up for a Placer Alert. So if there is an emergency, you can be aware. That's just so very important for you and for all of our neighbors. Let's talk about those big red flags we might see outside of fire stations or in front of city halls. What are the big red flags and what do they mean?
So when you see these red flags, it's really an ability for us to tell the public, be aware. and we put them up at the start and we take them down at the end, because these red flag events typically last anywhere from 2 to 4 days. But when you see those red flags at your fire station, at your government buildings, that's the time to get on to Ready Placer, get on to readyforwildfire.org, and find out about what the conditions around you really are, and understand that you are in a critical period of fire danger.
That's right. So those are not the times to be having fires up in the mountains when you're camping, being really careful with your weed whackers, that type of thing. We want to be really careful of sparks during red flag times.
It really is, Supervisor, and you know, our number one cause of fires in Placer County are human caused. Not intentional, in fact most of the time it's accidental, but certainly during those red flag events, that's when you should not mow, absolutely, especially after 10 o'clock in the morning, but I would just put it off for the day. Really be aware of your vehicle condition, don't pull off into the dry grass, and be aware of the surroundings, be aware of what other people around you are doing in order to prevent that ignition.
So what are some other things that our residents can do to remain safe, especially as we're thinking about the holiday season, it's summertime. Let's talk about Independence Day and fireworks.
Yeah, I mean, statewide, in state responsibility areas and in the county across all unincorporated areas, fireworks are illegal. And they are just such a, they have such a potential to start unwanted wildland fires, especially around the 4th of July when we tend to be in critical fire and weather conditions. So, and like I said, I mean, there's a potential for damage and injury to people in and around you. So, you know, we really also look at the transportation of illegal fireworks into California, and we seize, as a department, we seize about 35,000 pounds of illegal fireworks per year, just right here coming down in the transportation corridors of Placer County. So
it's just a reminder, right, if you're going to use fireworks, use safe and sane fireworks, and only in areas where they are allowed.
That's right.
All right. And Chief, thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to educate us, to encourage us to really do our part to prevent fires. We've got a great community in which we live, and we really appreciate the work that you do, your team does every day to keep us safe. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Supervisor. Really appreciate it.